Welcome back to another episode of the Bear Trap on the Boomer Bust channel, a Bears podcast by a Bears fan. I'm your host, Terry, and today I'm talking about the case for trading back in the 2018 draft. So previously I've done videos on specific prospects talking about the case for picking them at number 8. And naturally the conversation turns to, well, we should just trade back. And I get it. I'm a draft guy. I know that with a roster that you're building, you want to get more capital. You want to get more swings at it. I get that. There's also guys that might not fit what you're looking for that high in the draft and you want to trade back and get another good player. I get it. But we got to remember the scenario is that we're picking at 8 and that could very well happen. So I thought we definitely had to have a conversation about who we could pick there and why we should or shouldn't. And so now we get to talk about trading back though. And I'm not talking about predicting wild, crazy trades. That's too much. Nobody knows what's going to happen. So I'm going to break it down into draft slots and then talk about which players I think I would be comfortable taking in that slot. Again, not talking about what we should or shouldn't do and all that stuff. This is just more who I would be comfortable with picking in that spot. So let's get started. We're at number 8. And so naturally to trade back, the first one would be number 9. And I'm going from pick 9 to pick 12. Now, number 1, and these aren't in order, I got Quentin Nelson, who always thought was a 5-star prospect after second round evaluation. Definitely my number 1 guard. I think his long-term potential is the highest out of the interior. And I already talked about kind of upgrading our interior and what he would bring. Now, I will say overall with the quarterback chase that the Jets started, that position players are going to get pushed back and it could very well end up where he ends up to us. And then not to mention, we don't know what happens on draft night. People fall for reasons. And so it could happen. So if we were to pick him up in this range, 100% on board with it. Tremaine Edmonds, of course, talked about the 1-2 combo he has on the outside and inside. I would be happy to bring him in. Roquan Smith, he's my number 1 linebacker. I think he's side to side, but he doesn't have the pass rush that Edmonds has, but he does bring IQ and coverage ability. Marcus Davenport, while he's mostly a projection, I still think his natural talent is elite level and that he showed the ability to get better with some NFL coaching, so I think Fangio could mold him into something special. Mike McGlinchey, I think now that the combine's over, people realize he's the number 1 tackle and that tackle's a premium. And so on draft day, he's going to have a lot more buzz than he's had so far. And so while people might think he's not worth this type of pick, I would say if we don't get him here, you probably won't get him later. So I would be perfectly fine getting Mike McGlinchey, who I think is going to be a 10-year left tackle or right tackle. Now Minkah, that's not a typo, Minkah Fitzpatrick. I talked about the position players getting pushed down because of the quarterbacks. But on top of that, I think Minka's a question mark. He's not my favorite safety because it's hard to project what he can do on the outside as a corner or as a high safety because of the way Bama used him. And so I think he's more of a question mark. But with his natural talents, I think there is value in him playing the nickel, playing the dime linebacker, doing some special things with him. And that he could fit within the Bears without taking any other secondary off the field. So if he were to come down to this point, because I think teams are not as in love with Minkah as they were, I would definitely be okay with the Bears picking him up and, you know, kind of as a chess piece to take defense to a new level. Now we're talking about number 13 through 23. So Denzel Ward, again, all athleticism, lacks a lot of technique. Not my favorite corner, but outside of the top 10, I would be able to take a swing on him. And while people say we got Fuller, we got Prince. Prince ain't that young, and Fuller, we got to see what he can do. Getting young corner talent is never a bad thing, so I'll be fine with picking him. Calvin Ridley, similar. Top talent in his position, not the stud prospect people want in terms of size and strength, but what he does very well. I would be happy to get him, like I said, outside of the 10. He's not a guy I'm trading up or blowing my pockets out to go get, but towards the back end, towards the 20s, I'll be perfectly fine picking him up because he can play inside, outside, and do some big things in our receiving core. Vita Vea, top 10 pick to most. I think he's got extreme natural talent, but he doesn't bring pass rush. And so I wouldn't go top 10 with him, but if he were to stumble down to this area, I put him next to Akeem Hicks and rock and roll. Josh Jackson, my favorite corner, but there's questions about his long speed. After the combine, there's even more questions. And so while there might be a limit to how great he can be and what schemes he can be great in, I think getting him, like I said, in the teens, I'll be perfectly fine with adding some more corner talent. Billy Price, I love Billy Price. Next to Quinn Nelson, this is the favorite tape to watch. He is so good. And adding him gives you another guy that can play both guard spots in the center. So not only does he add talent, he adds depth and flexibility with him in Whitehair. So I would 100% be fine with him, especially in the 20s. Will Hernandez, he's about a half inch behind Quinn Nelson for me. I think he's more mobile, and I think his hand placement is a little better. But Nelson's, like I said, ceiling is bigger. But Will Hernandez, day one, I think he kicks just as much butt as Quinn Nelson does on day one. Connor Williams, he's got a lot of flags. Injury, mindset, maturity. And some people think he might not be a tackle. I think he's an all-day left tackle. But with his size, he can play guard. McGlinchey's all of 6'8". He's not playing guard. But Connor, I think he gives you 5-position flexibility if you wanted him to. But I think all day long with his technique and his arm length, I think he'll be perfectly fine playing left tackle for you. So while he does have those injuries concerned or those flags, if you're comfortable with the kid, I think this is a position that I'll be cool with. Now our last group, and there's probably a lot of guys that could be in this group, but pick number 24 through 32, Tim Settle, he's a beast. He's a beast. Tim Settle, as big as Vita Vea, as athletic, better pass rusher. And I think being in Virginia Tech with Edmonds kind of covered him up, plus being injured. But I think he's an absolute talent and would absolutely add some juice to our pass rush as well as our run game. And I think the same thing for Deron Payne. With Payne, Settle, and Vea, you got 3 mammoth-sized beast athletes that could really wreck shop. And Payne plays fullback, catches passes on offense, kind of like the fridge. He's well coached at Bama. I think he could definitely change the run game, but also add some juice as a pass rusher. And so I would be icing on the cake to get one of these guys at the back of the first round. Orlando Brown, bad combine. A lot of people sour on him. I still think he's a tackle. I think that he's functional enough that he can move, but he's also, with his natural strength and mass, he covers guys up. And you scared about speed. That's the thing you get scared about. But the thing is, if they don't win right away, he's done. He's going to kill them. And so if they don't win right at the point of attack off the snap, he covers them up and it's done. And so some guys that are just have so much natural mass that they can block people, especially in the run game, I think Orlando Brown's one of them. His maturity, his weight, all that. If you feel like your coaches can handle him, I would take a swing at him in the back because we got to upgrade our tackle spots as well. Isaiah Oliver, I like him more than other corners, Mike Hughes and whatnot, because he's a two-sport athlete. He's a track decathlete, a lot of body control, a lot of hand-eye coordination, natural athleticism, not a speeder or a speed burner, but a natural athlete that has shown some production and I think can only get better with NFL coaching and focusing on one sport, but you can't really beat all that body control that he has. Harold Landry, pass rusher out of Boston College. There's questions on what he can do at the next level. He's not that pure linebacker that's going to give you coverage and everything. So he is more of a straight pass rusher, and people wondering if his size is going to be able to win at the next level because he doesn't have next level speed. But again, with those concerns, I think you could take a swing at the back of the first round. You know, we got extra picks and stuff. We definitely need pass rushers. And if you feel like he's a guy that can get in a situation with the rest of our front and win those one-on-one matchups or get one-on-one matchups because people focus on Leonard Floyd, I wouldn't be mad at it. Rashaan Evans, we got to think about Danny Trevathan. He is a little bit injury prone. And while I like Nick Kwiatkowski and I like all our other guys, if we bring Christian Jones back, I think it doesn't hurt to bring in a young stud at linebacker. Our front is more so going to be predicated with our D-line and opening up our linebackers. But Rashawn's big thing is, while he's not my favorite, he is really good at coverage. And that's something you don't get a lot out of linebackers. Leighton Vander Esch, again, both of these linebackers we don't need, but icing on the cake at the back of the first round. I like him a lot. I think he has a good blend of run stopping, of coverage, and blitzing. And reminds me of Urlacher. So I wouldn't mind taking him either. And that's probably a group of guys that I didn't mention that, at the back of the first I'll be happy with too. But these are the guys that I mostly were thinking about. Okay, so that's it for me. And I'm trying to hurry up before my program tweaks out and cuts me off. So, but the real important thing is up to you guys. Go to the comment section. Let me know what you think. Trading back, who would you be comfortable with, where and why, all that fun stuff. We'll start the conversation. Thumbs up, subscribe, share it around, and remember, stay up and bear down.